this is just to give some perspective quickly. I'm going to pound through these slides pretty quickly. The first guys that got to North America, the Native Americans, probably used fire to modify ecosystems. They certainly caused environmental change. They caused biodiversity loss because of changing ecosystems. But there were huge changes associated with the arrival of the Europeans. And the first guy that hopped off the boat in the 1600s had an axe. And they chopped their way across. There's 1620, this is the forest curve. There's 1850, and there's 1920. So huge changes have happened. And they've happened over a long enough time that it's hard to perceive it. If you're living in one little place, living for just 80 years or 100 years without healing, it's hard to perceive these changes. But the changes have been huge. And this is North America. I can do the same thing for lots of other places. You know, we chop down all the trees in England too. We chop down all the trees in Europe also. So there's tree loss. And then there's something happening to the trees that are left. And I live in Colorado, and this little beetle guy is going out there and he's eating my trees. The leftover trees are being eaten by that beetle. This is Colorado. The red areas is where the beetle's eaten. Here's the western United States. The red areas where the beetle's eaten. There's lots of different kinds of beetles. But here's the killer image. This is, albeit faded, it goes from Alaska at the top to Mexico at the bottom. And there's lots of different kinds of beetles, but those beetles are eating our trees. And they're local beetles, they've been there all along. But their biology is abetted by warmth. The warm summers, the trees are a little bit challenged because it's warm and relatively dry in the summers. The winter time is relatively warm, and the beetles are living through the winters. And the long warm seasons allow the beetles to have two sets of babies in the summertime instead of just one. And then they're surviving through the winter, so they're coming out hungry on the other side. And there's been this massive beetle invasion of many different species and many different kinds of trees across western North America. And the principal area impacted is in Canada. So huge changes are happening, and it's happening because it's getting warmer. And this is the minimum winter temperatures in Colorado. I went to the climate guy, I got the data sets, and the beetles get killed if it gets down to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's the minus 30. And this is 1994 or something or other. Since 1994, we haven't had cold winters in Colorado. And in fact, for the last 50 years, it's been gradually getting warmer. So the changes that are happening today associated with climate change are impacting biology. That's very clear to us. And some of the impacts are quite adverse. The other thing that's impacting biology is us. This is the Denver area. I live just north of Denver. There's Boulder, there's Fort Collins. This is 1960, 1980, and the year 2000. Just showing the footprint of civilization changing through time. I'm going to show that footprint is showing us expanding. I'm also going to show this area. This is the Boulder County area, and I'm now going to show you an open space map. So man's expanding his and her footprint across the face of the earth, but we're also conserving land. And this is Boulder open space in 1975. The green is open space. There's 75, here's 94, and here's 2007. So look at what we're doing. We're conserving land. These are open space purchases, they're conservation easements, there's strategies that people are using where I live to conserve land, to preserve land, to allow biology to have a place to go, to allow ecosystems to expand, and we're consciously, deliberately, strategically buying up land and conserving it. We're limiting development, we're constraining growth in certain areas that are being planned out ahead of time, and this is changes that we're making in Colorado. I can go to Cairo. My son is working in Cairo, and this is a park in Cairo that used to be a dump. It's near the City of the Dead. For those who've been to Cairo, it's on the west side of, the east side of Cairo. This is the dump in 2003. There's 2005, 2006, 2009. They've made a park in the city. And Cairo, as you might know, 18 million people, one of the biggest cities in Africa, and they've chosen to use their resources to make this park where it's a wonderful place for people to gather. So again, the future is not written. You guys see Lawrence of Arabia? It's a movie. So the future is not written. And those who will write the future are here in the room. And there's lots of choices for what you write. I'll give just another vignette here. This is in Africa. The Savory Institute, they're people looking at holistic management of land. And this is a scene where there's been overgrazing. People have been living on this landscape a lot. Overgrazing is one of the principal causes of desertification. For those we have overgrazed. The tragedy of the commons, people had goats, and then they had kids, and the reason they had lots of children was so that children could herd the goats. And the more goats you had, the better off you were, and the more children you had, the more goats you could have, so you could have lots of children, so you get lots of goats. Goats eat everything. Goats graze vigorously, they eat everything. And the tragedy of the commons is the concept that that open land, or that resource that appears to be vast, will be utilized by everybody to its eventual demise or destruction. Same thing, fish in the sea, air quality, water quality. So the tragedy of the commons needs to be averted by education. Once you're informed and educated about the processes and patterns, then you can start to mitigate the changes. And this is an example. I'm going to show you the next picture. I'm going to show you what happened when they fenced off this ground, they limited grazing, and they modified the landscape. And my last picture is going to be this one. You can see that branch right there. That branch is right there. Well, the last picture is a geologist trying to provide her field assistant as the sea levels are rising. This is not a vanity fair, and the point of this is not really astounding, but the point is that this is in the Modern Vernacular. This thing is in some magazine, it's a fashion magazine or something or other. So the information that my age mates, my people in Colorado, fellow geologists and whatnot, they have a hard time believing some of these things that I'm talking about because they weren't taught it in school. They think it's some kind of Republican or Democratic plot. They think that will reveal it's not true. The data are abundant, and young people are growing up with recognizing that these realities are affecting the world in which they live. And again, they're appreciating that they've got the challenge and the opportunity. The challenge begets opportunity. So, you guys can make this happen. Thank you very much.